Warm welcome to you. This is Business Daily on Trust TV. My name is Chiamaka Nendu, and now we are set to keep the ground running by bringing to you updates on the world, from the world of business as far as the Nigerian business fair is concerned. But first of all, let's take a look at the top trendy stories. Right about now, let's take a look at how the equities markets fared on Friday after the trading session. Let's begin with the NGX right here in Nigeria, where we did see the markets end Friday's trading session in the positive at 71,419 points. That is the all-share index, and the market capitalization hit a whopping 39 trillion naira, while the volume of shares exchanged on the floor of the exchange hit 361.116 million. That was a huge change from what we had seen on Thursday's trading session. However, we did see some levels of growth in the levels of value traded on the floor of the exchange, as the value hit 10.22 billion naira, while 5,640 deals exchanged hands on the floor of the exchange on Friday. And away from that now, let's take a look at the top gainers from Friday's trading session, as Ikeja Hotel tops the list, up by 10.0% at 4.62 naira. And following closely is Naimeth. Naimeth was up at 10.00%, seemingly a close margin between Ikeja Hotels and Naimeth, as Naimeth ended the day selling at 1.87, while Unity Bank also had a 10% growth, a 10% gain on Friday's trading session at 1.54 naira. And now to the flip side, speaking of the losers chart, let's take a look at the losers from Friday's trading session, as we can see that Sun Assurance maintained its position as the top loser, down by 10.00% at 1.26, while UAC Nigeria, on the other hand, was also down by 9.76% at 15.25 naira. And MC Nichols, which is of course an investment property company, was also down by 9.64% at 0.75 naira. Away from that now, let's take a look at the top market movers, or the top trades that were registered on the floor of the exchange on the 1st of December. And we see that Universal Insurance Company tops the table at 44.1 million shares, which was exchanged in just one day. We have seen the Universal Insurance Company maintain its position on the top gainers charts for a couple of days now. And Jais Bank followed closely at 35.4 million shares. And next we see Access Holdings at 23.9 million shares. And now to the sectoral performance. Speaking of the different sectors within the NGX, we see that NGX banking was up by 1.14%, and NGX industrial remained in the negative. We saw it remain in the bearish territory, down by 0.06%. NGX consumer good, on the other hand, also was down by 0.08%, again maintaining and sustaining the bearish trend. Meanwhile, NGX oil and gas seemed to move to the bullish trend, up by 0.05%, a slim level of growth going on over there in the oil and gas industry. Of course, we've seen oil prices maintain some levels of positive growth recently, and that is of course affecting the NGX oil and gas sector. And NGX insurance lastly was in the negative, down by minus 1.1%. Away from the sectoral performance, now let's look at other major markets within the African region. Speaking of the Johannesburg Stock Exchange, Ghana Stock Exchange, and the Nairobi Stock Exchange. And starting off with the Johannesburg Stock Exchange, we saw the market end the week in the positive, up by 0.27% to 75,705. And Ghana Stock Exchange, on the other hand, remained unchanged at 3,169 points. Meanwhile, the Nairobi Stock Exchange remained in the positive also at 92.27 points. A very positive review there from the African market on Friday's trading session. We also did see that play out within the Nigeria's equities market, speaking of the NGX. And right about now, we will go on a short break. And when we return, a conversation proper will commence. Don't go nowhere.
We started manufacturing leather since 1958. But the most important thing is that if the system is checked correctly, we won't have where we are now.
If somebody has depression, they may just be very irritable and unproductive in the office. So you find on average already about 1 in 4, 1 in 5 Nigerians already have a mental illness, a mental health condition that needs some form of attention.
No matter how good an economy is, if the federal government goes bust, believe me, everything in the economy is just a matter of time it will go bust. So first of all, about maybe slightly above, below 70% is in federal government securities.
If government has banned importation of fertilizer and states are doing it at the level of governance, but I believe that production and distribution of fertilizer should be left to the private sector.
This is the general multi-purpose card, and it has a chip here. So this chip is about 80 kilobytes. The one that you get from the bank for ATM is just 4 kilobytes. So this is like 20 times.
Are you interested in the latest news and developments in Nigerian politics, policy, governance, and other critical national issues? Look no further than Daily Politics on Trust TV. Our panel of experts and key people in government provide in-depth analysis and commentary on the biggest stories in Nigerian politics.
And 33.3 million Nigerians are suffering from multi-dimensional poverty.
Is a much calmer Buhari than the Buhari who was in the khaki uniform.
Naira to Naira X rate is higher anywhere in the world. The Naira is higher than dollar exchange rate. So you want to...
This central bank governor you're doing, you must do it fast.
Number of casualties we have had, we shouldn't have had. Security as far as Nigeria is concerned, we have wronged.
From the inner workings of government to the latest on legislation, rule of law, implementation, and democracy, we have you covered. Don't miss out on the latest political news and discussion. Tune in to Daily Politics, weekdays on Trust TV, your source for reliable and unbiased coverage of Nigerian politics.
And welcome back from that short time out. And now to the conversation on today's edition of the program. Nigeria's agricultural sector is set to be one of the major sectors as far as the Nigerian economy is concerned, contributing to over 35% of Nigeria's GDP and employing over 65% of Nigerians, including rural women. And so today we will be reviewing just how well the Nigerian agriculture sector has fared in the year 2023. And joining me to discuss this is, of course, a key stakeholder in the Nigerian agricultural sector, and I'm speaking of the chairman of the Forum for Agricultural Commodity Association of Nigeria, Sadiq Umar Daware. Thank you for joining us on the program this morning.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Let's begin by you assessing just how well the agri sector has fared. You are the chair of a major agricultural commodities association. How would you, from your own lens, say the Nigeria's agri sector has fared in the year 2023? We are currently in the fourth quarter. So looking at the 3 quarters so far, how has the agri sector fared?
Thank you very much. We cannot be able to analyze the 2023 correctly if we did not reflect what happens in 2022 and years before then. You remember that before the coming of this administration, the immediate part administration under President Buhari has initiated a number of agri-intervention programs with a view to give Nigeria a befitting agricultural programs that can be of great importance to our nation and to our economy. Programs like the Presidential Fertilizer Initiatives, programs like the Anchor Borrowers Program, programs like a lot of intervention programs, and it has really helped. Now in 2023, particularly the challenges we have faced at the beginning did not come to us as a surprise. Farmers have to some extent did not get it easy. Farmers to some extent did not get input for their production very easy. And as such, price of commodities has jumped very high to an extent that a common man cannot be able to afford a bag of rice or a tuber of yam in Nigerian market. But we believe the coming of this administration under President Bola Ahmed Tinubu come in with a very straightforward and important message to Nigerians. One, by creating a Federal Ministry of Agriculture and Food Security, and with a deliberate attempt to see how we can reposition agriculture in Nigeria. He went further as a matter of urgency to also declare state of emergency on food security. And this has, in no small measure, repositioned Nigerian farmers, repositioned value chain actors in making sure that this present administration is serious more than ever before to support agriculture in Nigeria. And we are optimistic that the Federal Ministry of Agriculture and Food Security has repositioned themselves very well in making sure that they have support agri sector more than ever before. And we believe that what we have seen in the first quarter, what we have seen in the second quarter, the third quarter will be of great use and importance. As I'm talking to you now, the Federal Ministry of Agriculture and Food Security has rolled out series of programs across the country with a view to support dry season farming. And we believe it will help, and Nigerians will get a lot of food to eat and access to export to other countries of the world.
You touched a bit on the several interventions we have seen from the federal government, particularly the Anchor Borrowers Program. I am quite aware that there has been a lot of conversation around that program and the difficulty of farmers to pay back these funds. What is the current situation regarding the repayment of these loans from farmers to the government?
Before the Anchor Borrowers Program was rolled out in Nigeria, Nigeria has been spending a lot of money to support importation of food and other commodities. And this huge amount of money that we have spent in this sector should have been channeled to other sectors of the economy. But with the coming of the Anchor Borrowers Program, the money was utilized. It has helped farmers both in training, capacity building, and production. And Nigeria will not be in isolation, because a lot of countries across the world has also experienced a lot of challenges associated with floods, challenges associated with COVID-19, you can remember very well, and challenges associated with insecurity. But because of the deployment of these huge resources to support agriculture in Nigeria, particularly under the Anchor Borrowers program, we have not have any short of food in Nigeria throughout that period. And that Anchor Borrowers program has helped in no small measure. But we are also aware that this type of interventions take a lot of time. We are dealing with farmers that before now are not trained, farmers that are not grouped, farmers that are not used to savings, farmers are not good to a lot of things. We believe that over a period of time, probably 5, 6, 7 years, government can be able to perfect the process, and farmers can understand and take agriculture as a business so that they can receive loans from the bank or from the government, utilize it very well, get a very good result, and repay so that the program can sustain. At the beginning of the Anchor Borrowers program, certainly there are a lot of multiple challenges. Farmers are not paying back the loan, but we believe that the present administration can reposition the agriculture very well, get farmers a very good training with a view of understanding that, look, you can be able to get loan from the bank, utilize it during the farming production, make profit out of it, and repay back so that that program can sustain. And I believe this government is ready more than ever before to support agriculture, particularly in making sure that farmers receive loan and repay back the loan so that others can as well enjoy.
I'll take you up from your points that you mentioned earlier, where you mentioned that the federal government had issued a national emergency on food security. And that is one of the efforts we have seen regarding, cushioning the effects of not just the COVID-19 pandemic, but of course, other issues that have grappled with the agricultural sector in Nigeria. But now let's speak about this a national emergency on food security. How would you say that is impacting on the smallholder farmers that are in villages, of course, producing foods across Nigeria?
Yes, our listeners may recall that the National Assembly has recently passed a supplementary budget with a huge amount of money, basically to support the food security declared by His Excellency the President. The only challenge we have now is how different government ministries and agencies to come together with a view of synchronizing their ideas and overcome some of the challenges that are facing the farmers. The number one challenge that is facing a Nigerian farmer today is issue of insecurity. An issue of insecurity is outside the mandate of the Federal Ministry of Agriculture and Food Security. So there has to be a synergy between the Federal Ministry of Agriculture and Food Security and probably Office of the National Security Advisor, with a view of having security on ground so that our farmers, now we are in a period of harvest, they can be able to harvest their produce and at ease and probably provide for Nigerians with what to eat. So I believe the Office of the National Security Advisor and the Federal Ministry of Agriculture and Food Securities are doing a very good collaboration to see how farmers get good security so that they can be able to harvest their produce and continue farming for Nigerians to eat.
Another major event we witnessed in the year 2023, of course, was the appointment of the new Minister of Agriculture and Rural Development. Speaking of Senator Abubakar Kyari, he has hit the ground running, promising to revamp the agricultural space. In your opinion, what low-hanging fruit issues within the agri sector would you recommend he addresses?
Yes, I really appreciate the effort of the Honorable Minister, who is an experienced somebody and who is very serious in making sure that he reposition Nigerian agri sector. He has invited all sectors, all stakeholders on the agriculture. I can remember very well that immediately after a brief from the department and agencies under the Federal Ministry of Agriculture and Food Security, he also invited the value chain actors. He has invited farmers group, he has invited fertilizer producers, he has invited the insurance companies and a lot of stakeholders in the agri sector. And I appreciate his effort. And that is how a serious person can start. He has gathered a lot of information. He has his own background checks. As a matter of fact, he has even started visiting areas that are implementing core agri projects. And I'm optimistic that with his own approach, then we can be able to reposition the agri and make sure that Nigerians produce what to eat so that we can beat our chest and say, yes, we are truly the giant of Africa.
Okay, in the spirit of reviewing how the agri sector has fared throughout the year, of course, there has been wins, there has also been losses. But in your point of view, how would you, I'd like for you to highlight the major wins the agri sector has, conquered in the year 2023 and the unfortunate losses it has had so far.
You see, agri is a continuous process. You can remember very well on this station, I have mentioned the last year where flood have ravaged the entire Nigerian farmlands and causes a lot of losses to smallholder farmers who are basically supporting Nigerians with what to eat. So in 2023, what we expected is that for this administration to identify those smallholder farmers that have invested so much on their farming activities, and as such, farmlands were washed away by the flood, so that government can support them in their businesses. Remember very well that throughout the world, the only way agriculture can be sustained is when there is a lot of support from the government. And we believe that in 2023, farmers have, in 2023, farmers have incurred a lot of losses, and that has been a major problem. A lot of them cannot go back to the farm now because they have incurred loss. The only way they can go back to farm 100% and continue producing is when government come out with an intervention program, cushion the effect of the losses they have incurred so that they can remain in the business. Remember very well that if his business has suffered losses, and if he is not encouraged, then he cannot continue doing the business. And agriculture is not a sector that we can allow farmers to abandon. We have to continuously support Nigerian farmers so that they can produce what Nigerians can eat. This is my advice to the government.
What are your projections in terms of food security? There has been a couple of predictions from organizations such as the Food and Agriculture Organization saying that Nigeria is at the verge of experiencing food insecurity. But what are your projections as a key stakeholder in that sector?
Yes, I don't know the indices they have used. But however, for the past 4 or 5 years, that has been the prediction, but we have not experienced any short of food in Nigeria. That has been their own prediction. But however, with the resources we have on ground, both land, both water, both good climate condition and hardworking Nigerians, we believe that more good times are coming where we can be able to produce massively. Remember very well that the major preoccupation of Nigerians is farming. So they have larger percentage of Nigerians are into agriculture. So they have no any other business but to go to the farm and produce. And we believe that with the support of His Excellency the President, then Nigerian farmers can go back to the farm, they can produce, and we have more good days coming ahead.
Indeed, hopefully with the very hardworking Nigerians and the support of the government, we will continue to produce what we eat and eat what we produce. I have been speaking with the Chairman, Forum for Agricultural Commodity Association of Nigeria, Sadiq Umar Daware. Thank you for the very insightful conversation this morning.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me.
And this is where we wrap up today's edition of the program. You can catch this episode of the program on YouTube. Join us on our YouTube, on our social media platforms, and let's have conversations around food security and the agricultural sector in Nigeria. From myself, Chiamaka and Nendu, thank you for watching and have a nice day.